At this point, it's very tempting to cover this topic and basically just be like, well, I told you so, and then just peace out, because I'm running out of patience and sympathy for people who don't understand this. It's something that's been covered ad nauseum by a billion people. It's something that even a creator like Chris Stuckman just made a video about. Last time I checked, it had like 150,000 views. One of the biggest YouTube movie reviewers out there, talking about physical media, talking about the future of what media looks like, but people don't want to listen to it. Well, here it is right from the horse's mouth, because Ubisoft executive, I believe it was Phillipe Tremblay, he actually recently said that you should get used to not owning your games. That's going to be the future of gaming. That is going to be the future of how they want to make the entertainment industry. What, Jay? You already don't own your games. You're buying a physical license. You're just buying a disc with a license on it. It just happens to have those files. Yeah, but you know what's not going to happen? Nobody's going to come in my house and take the disc outside of me getting robbed. At that point, I have insurance. I can just get the stuff back if I really needed to, if I got robbed. Or if maybe I had a house fire, I have fire insurance. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody, like, they're not going to send Ubisoft people with weapons to my house to take discs. Yeah, there's been like a time or two where there's been like really, really niche, weird stuff where somebody tried to go to someone's house and take their stuff. Like, oh, well, that's technically ours, but it really doesn't happen. And if it did, especially in the United States, especially the southern half of the country, good luck. But Ubisoft now is really embracing this attitude of, hey, listen, digital's the future, but not even just digital. Subscription. Not even just owning digital files. Like, so if it was just digital is the future, there's already problems with that, actually. There's already problems with it making development cycles lazier. There's already problems with it making it so that the 1.0 build is not nearly as good as it could be. Everything is rushed out the door, and then it's patched in later. Even look at, I'm going to get some shit for this, Spider-Man 2. It launched without basic features that people thought it was going to have, like New Game Plus and Mission Replay. I believe Insomniac even cited Mission Replay as having something like what was it, Jill? It was like no extra utility or no extra value that it needed to be in at launch, so they could just add it later. And then the update got pushed back, and now we're going to be moving into February almost soon. We don't have that yet. That's what digital is. But subscription is even worse than that, because subscription services make it so that you can remove, add, mess with, censor, modify, patch at any time what you have access to as a gamer, or as a movie viewer, or as a book reader, or as any kind of media consumer. And then what happens? Well, it's not the same product fundamentally. It's been changed. The art has been modified. The exact quote that we're talking about today is from Phillipe Tremblay. He was giving an interview about the consumer shift that they want to see happen in order to actually get their Ubisoft streaming services going much better. I wanted to talk to you about this because it's very disgusting to me, and I'll show the quote on the screen here as well. They talked about one of the things we saw is that gamers are used to, a little bit like DVD, having and owning their games. That's the consumer shift that needs to happen. They got comfortable not owning their CD collection or DVD collection. Tried to tell you this. Tried to talk about this forever. Sorry, something in my throat. That's a transformation that's been a bit slower to happen in games, but here's a keyword, slower. It's still happening. As gamers grow comfortable in that aspect, you don't lose your progress. If you resume your game at another time, your progress file is still there. That's not been deleted. You don't lose what you've built in the game of your own engagement with the game. So it's about feeling comfortable with not owning your game. What's that? Is that the voice of the Almighty God? It's almost like people have been trying to warn others forever that happened. Whoa, what was that? I don't know. I can't say it was God, but I can say that it was a smart voice. It's interesting how this is working out, isn't it? People have pointed this out forever, that as you give up more and more control, companies take it. As you give up more and more of your consumer rights, which for some reason in the United States, which is like a company or a country, it's almost a company, entirely made up of consumerism, people don't care about their consumer rights. Genuinely, they don't. Like, people will keep trying to say, hey guys, look, it's cool, buy whatever you want, spend your money how you want, free country, free world, that's, what you want to do. But understand the risks of that. Understand that if there are not both options, okay? If there's not multiple options, that's a problem. There's no problem with there being the option of physical, the option of digital, and the option of streaming. But if we removed physical and digital, and the only option was streaming, that's not a good thing. If we removed, digital out of there, that's not a good thing either. Why? Because you want options. You want to be able to give consumers options. You want people to be able to decide where they want to spend their money. But really, what companies have learned is that you don't actually want to do that. That's not actually a good thing. You don't want to compete with anyone if you're a company, especially not yourself. You just don't want to. Because at the end of the day, this is not about benefiting you. This is not about turning on your game and being able to access your save file anywhere. You know why? If it was, it would all be about things like Xbox Cloud or the PlayStation Cloud support for saves. That's what it would be about. You can do that with discs. I can put in a save file from a PS4 game, upload it to the cloud, take the disc to somewhere else, like a different state in the United States, put it in a PS4, download my profile, and I could have access to my save file there. That's not really what it's about. That function has already been there. They're spinning it. They're trying to make it sound like it's more convenient for you. It's more convenient. You don't have to get up off your ass and put in another disc. Don't you want to be lazy? Who wants to deal with that? Yet we see over and over these situations, like even the whole Falcon and the Winter Soldier debacle a couple of years ago. Even if you hate Marvel, you hate the MCU, there is a point to this. They edited it. They censored it. They uploaded a safer version of it to Disney Plus, and when they got caught, they were like, actually, that was supposed to be the censored version for, younger viewers. That wasn't supposed to be there. We better fix that. And they fixed it, right? Because people called it out. But that's now what we rely on. We rely on people calling this stuff out, and then the companies, out of their own good graces and will answer it and be polite and be like, oh yeah, we'll fix that, or they will just not care. How many games have launched broken that never got fixed? And why are they allowed to do this more and more over time? Because physical is becoming less popular. People are becoming lazier. There's a lot of areas in the world where you can't buy physical easily, or it's taxed. Like there's no tomorrow with tariffs that aren't actually on the digital version of the game. So yes, there are other problems in parts of the world that prevent some people from buying physical. I understand that. But this should be a wake-up call. That the things like Disney Plus, Netflix, Ubisoft Plus, or whatever it's called, PlayStation Now, which then became a PlayStation Plus program with 5 billion tiers, they're not good. Even look at Xbox Game Pass. Stuff leaves Xbox Game Pass. New stuff is added. It's a great value right now. You know what was also a great value when it first came out? Netflix. Netflix was an amazing value. You could get Netflix and replace all of your cable ownership except for basically sports. You could just have Netflix, and that would be it. Everything was on there. You know what doesn't have everything anymore? Netflix. You know what's been segmented into 50 other different streaming services now that if you add them together, you're basically paying for more than cable again? Netflix. This stuff is only as good as it has to be until there's no other options. And we've seen a lot of alleged I would say allegations, but I mean, you can go through news media articles, you can go through economic breakdowns, and you can see stuff like this happening where a huge chain, like Walmart is always, I think, the poster child for this, at least in the 90s and 2000s. They roll into town, they price everything lower than everyone else, all the small businesses go out of business, and then the prices magically rise because of some economic reason in the huge chain that's left in the area. That happens a lot. Amazon, prices are higher than they used to be because they don't have to compete anymore. They just don't have to. That's what this future is. Now, I am not saying that if you live somewhere where you can't buy physical, that you should move. It's your God-given right. You gotta be an American. You gotta move to America and buy physical. I'm not saying something crazy like that. I understand that there's plenty of places where this is not practical. I get that. And at the end of the day, this is media. There's a billion pieces of media that already exist on disc or on paper or wherever that you can enjoy. But notice the language of what Phillipe here is saying. They want to make you comfortable. You've already become comfortable not owning your movies. You've already become comfortable not owning your music. Next up is games. You should become comfortable not owning them. that alone should be a little bit of a red flag to you. I honestly don't understand how at this point things like slippery slope are even considered a logical fallacy, considering how many like literal documented cases you can point to like this that are just an example of slippery slope. It's like, it literally sounds like what a hardcore political person would say, like, first they came for your guns and then they came for your books and then it literally sounds like that, but just a nicer version of it, of what Phillipe is saying. It's like, well, first we got them to get rid of their music and then we got them to get rid of their books and their movies. Next up is games. I can't wait to make a bunch of money off having all their games. Oh, working at Ubisoft, it's such fun. Yes, what's that, Watson? Yes, cancel every single Splinter Cell game we have in order and murder Rayman on national television. I want to see more Assassin's Creed. It's like, what is this? It's like Lex Luthor is running this company. It's like a supervillain company. And it really pisses me off because there's things Ubisoft makes that I think are fantastic, that I think are really fun. You know, and I do talk about Ubisoft games sometimes. Like, I love talking about the older Assassin's Creed titles. I recently played through Mirage. Loved it. I thought it was a great game. My wife Jill and I played it. I'm not saying Ubisoft and all the people who work there are like pieces of shit and they're all terrible. But like this kind of mentality, this kind of push towards more consumerism and more like just getting rid of what you own and saying, hey, here's the finger. We don't care anymore because we hold all the cards now. You gave us everything. Too bad. This is common. This is not just Ubisoft. You see this across the board from Ubisoft, Activision, EA. Everybody has a service now where you can subscribe to get something. Everybody has these like digital nuggets of goodness that then can be taken away at a moment's notice. And what's really scary to me about this is that it very much feels like it's about control. I'm towing a line here from going full conspiracy, and I did not form my tinfoil hat the right size today, so I don't have one on me. But if you think about it, think about a future where things go worse than this. Think about it. I mean, you already have systems in place in China with like social credit scores, where if you don't have a good social credit score, it's harder to get access to pretty much everything. Even shows like Black Mirror did an episode about this. But people don't think about that, right? What if things like that start being implemented all over the place? Or what if companies start paying attention to who's playing their games? Like, what if they don't like the fact that when you were 13 years old, you didn't know what a certain bad word meant you said on Facebook? And that's problematic, and they don't want you to have their games anymore. Or what if they just decide that a game isn't worth paying for anymore, like GTA, where GTA 5, it wasn't worth paying the licensing for their music anymore, so now the new releases of it just don't have a lot of the original music. Or what if they decide, oh, you know what? Maybe that little trigger warning at the beginning of these Disney movies like Peter Pan with what makes the red man red, maybe that's not good enough. Maybe we should just censor that entire scene out. Or, oh, maybe it should be treated like Song of the South and we just should never release it again. They can do that anytime with this stuff. They can choose to cut you out because of who you are. They can choose to cut the product and art out because of what it was or the time it was created or any tiny detail about it that they don't like. They can choose to censor it, edit it, erase it, whatever they want. This should be scary. This should not be a good thing. This is not a thing that people should be rolling over for on purpose. That's why I don't understand it. That's why it frustrates me. I do think that it's something that people should not be rolling over for. I do think it's a future that people should be advocating at the very least for consumer options on. And I saw something really big on Twitter that I think is very true. If you cannot legally own Ubisoft games, then it must not be illegal to pirate them, right? I mean, you can't own them. You can't have it both ways. You just can't. People are not, I want to say people are not as stupid as you think they are, but I think a lot of them are. It's very sad to me. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content. I appreciate you very much. We have a store down in the description below. Now I'm trying to sell you something. It's cosmobunny.shop. Named after our little Cosmo, our little cat, who is a little bit of a bunny rabbit himself. And we sell coasters, keychains, resin pieces, handcrafted jewelry, all kinds of stuff there. We do have channel memberships. We have Patreon. There's a lot of ways to support channels like this. Listen, I am not like the one person telling you this, okay? I'm not going to pretend I'm the one John the Baptist in the desert screaming like, somebody needs to hear me. No one's listening. But a lot of people are not listening to this message. It is important to be able to own something. It is important to be able to have something. In a final note, I saw an economist break down what he thought the future of owning things could look like, and his basic statement, which I'm going to butcher, was essentially that they've already tricked you into not owning things like movies, music, cars you rent, houses you haven't owned forever, you get mortgages. Like, that's what every company wants to do in the future. They want you to have to rent everything: furniture, TVs, electronics. There's already options for all this stuff. Paying layaway is another option for that, where it's pretty much the same thing. That's what they want out of you, because if they can take a little piece of your income every month, you're not going to notice it as much when you're broke as if you have to pay full price up front and you just have the thing. That's better for the company, because they're making passive income every month and you're losing income every month and not even noticing it, like paying a tax. It's not good. Please just notice it. I'm not saying you can't have any subscription services. I'm not saying you can't buy digital, but it's important to be aware of what's going on. This is all about control. That is genuinely what it's about. So I hope you have a fantastic day. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like, subscribe, let me know what you think. And as always, everybody, stay shui.